Hey guys, welcome back to the game room. Football season's back, and that means fantasy football season is upon us. And what's more fantasy football than Blood Bowl? Today we're going to take a look at the expansion for Blood Bowl Team Manager, Foul Play. It's the newest expansion to the game, and I'm a big fan of Blood Bowl Team Manager. I'll throw the annotations here for the base game and the expansion, but needless to say, it's one of my favorites. Foul Play adds some new things to it as well. We get 3 new teams to form an entirely new league. We get new mechanics like stadiums and penalties, and we get a wandering ref that can possibly have your team cheat, but also can give you penalties there. So it's kind of a corrupt ref walking around that you're having to pay off. It's a really interesting mechanic. Let me go through some of the components. I'll show you how it's played and how it mixes with the base game, and I'll give you my opinion at the end. Let's take a look. Alright, so here are the components to the Foul Play expansion. There's a couple things that aren't out here, like there is a new scoreboard for a 5th player, but that's not too important. And there are a few team upgrades and new cheating tokens that incorporate some of the new rules, but really you just need to know they incorporate some of the new rules. So this is the important stuff. This is the meat of the pack. So up at the top here you have all the teams. In the middle you have the stadiums. Down here we have some upgrades and penalties. And right here we have the ref. Well, I'll go through these guys in a bit. But let's start with the teams. This is the stuff that is going to immediately expand the game even without new rules. And new teams are always fun to get. The first one up is the Night Goblin team. So the Night Goblins are kind of the fanatical guys. These guys are crazy and unpredictable. And my favorite unit from this is the Fanatic itself. As you can see, not a very high star power. It's only a 1. So he's it's hard to tackle. However, his ability is frantic. Essentially, whenever he tackles, he gets to roll 2 dice regardless. The issue with that, though, is that you have to take both results. So that can be awesome. That can mean if you get 2 hits, you can injure a player, get him out of the matchup. But if you have any X's, you're going to hurt yourself. So that's what I like about this team. It's kind of chaotic. I really like that. It also has this new ability on this guy, which I wanted to talk about, which is fouling. Fouling is a little fist on the icon there. And it's an ability essentially where you make your opponent discard a card and then they get to draw a card. So it kind of cycles through their deck. It's the opposite of sprinting, in which you actually draw a card or discard a card. So that's a cool little effect. It's very simple, streamlined. It's easy to fit in there. I like that they've included it. Over here we have Chaos Dwarfs, and Chaos Dwarfs are one of my favorite races in all of the Warhammer lore. They're a criminally underused race. That gets to really shine in Blood Bowl in the video game form and the tabletop form, so I'm glad they're finally in this game. And the best thing I can do is to describe Chaos Dwarves are dauntless. These guys just keep coming at you. They're good at tackling. that's also a good way to describe them. You have Bull Centaurs, you've got Minotaurs, you've got blockers that can tackle, and blockers that even if you try to tackle them, they might tackle you back if they roll 2 hits. I mean, they have just the cream of the crop, and they have a lot of cheaters as well, which is something I always like. So it's a very, very strong, kind of Orcs and Goblinish type of unit, or Chaos Khorne from the base set. Just beefy, good star power stuff, and good tackling. A lot like the regular Dwarves, but I think I like them a little bit more than regular Dwarves. And last up is the Nurgle. And Nurgle is just a division of Chaos, but this is the disease, essentially. These are the guys that spread disease and use these disease counters that are included. You do have a finite amount of disease counters, but essentially, a lot of these guys get to put these disease counters out on the field. The guards don't, but a lot of these guys have spread disease. And what spread disease does is they will take these counters, and let's get a sample matchup here. Here's a matchup. So we have our matchup, and they'll actually place a disease counter out here where the football normally goes. Now, the cool thing about disease counters is that they can keep building up as long as you keep playing guys with disease there, and the next person on either side, it doesn't matter if it's your side or your opponent's side, the next person that plays a character there, they get all those disease tokens. And disease tokens are -1 star power. That's standing and when you're tackled. So it's going to lower your star power, which really sucks. And it can stack, which is even more. It sucks even more. So disease can be extremely annoying, and that's the best thing I can use to describe the Nurgle. They're just annoying, and I believe they also have a bit of regeneration in there as well. Yeah, they have a few guys. Yeah, they have quite a few guys with regeneration. So they've got regeneration. They've got annoyances. So these guys are just going to be pests in your side. So that's perfect for Nurgle, which is I'm totally fine with that. Down here you have the respective team upgrade cards for each of those new factions, and you also have a selection of upgrade cards for all the existing starter factions, which is pretty cool. I like that they've included even more starters. Even more factions, specific upgrade cards for existing factions, so that's all cool. They just augment the team's natural abilities, which is, what they've been doing. Now, the two things I think are the biggest changes and the most positive changes in the set are the actual penalty cards and the stadiums. Let's do penalties first. Penalties are awarded a few different ways. The primary way is through this cheating ref here, which we'll talk about in a moment. The other ways are going to be through upgrade cards or maybe even losing matchups. Some of the new matchups, like the new trophy, if you lose, you get a penalty, which sucks. Because penalties are what they look like. They can hurt your team, like downsize here. The next time you would draw one or more staff upgrade cards, draw one less staff upgrade card and discard this card. This one just disgusting behavior. You lose 3 fans and then discard the card immediately. And these are revealed during your upgrade phase at the end of the turn. So these things can be really big impacts. And it's cool that there's actual negative impacts outside of just cheating. Because really, before the only thing that really cost you was when you cheated, you had the possibility of getting kicked out of a match. You get the whistle token and you're out of the match. Now you'll have a chance of getting penalties which impact your score, which can impact your upgrades, which can ultimately impact if you can win or not. And you also get these through some of the new cheating tokens as well. So there's multiple ways of getting these. The cool way of doing it, though, is with this corrupt ref. This ref is no good. He's not a very good ref. And I'll tell you why. So let's just go with these matchups. So let's say we have these 3 matchups out here. And let's play them out like we're actually playing the game here. So let's say I'm the first player. I get to play this ref at one of these matchups. So you can put him at this matchup. Now, when a player plays, myself or my opponent, plays a person at this matchup. So let's say we play a guy right here. They have to take a face-up cheating token, so one of the normal skull cheating tokens, but put it face-up on this card, and then the ref moves. The ref will move equal to the standing star power of that player. So in this case, it's a star power of 1. So he'd move 1 space, which 1 space is 1 matchup over. If it had been 2, it would have gone bam, bam. And there would be a trophy match here normally, so you can move to the trophy. And then it kind of starts over in a cycle, so it's like he'll just keep moving up and down the field. Now, the catch is, wherever this ref ends up at the end of the round, so you have your normal 6 players in your hand, you play your guys out, and at the end of the round, wherever this guy's at, if you are a player at that matchup, let's say I'm at this matchup and I have a player here and my opponent has a player, and neither of us have a face-up cheating token. Anyone who doesn't have a face-up cheating token wherever the ref ends up at the last turn gets one of those penalty cards. So you have to be cheating to avoid a penalty with this corrupt ref round, which is, I think it's hilariously thematic. He forces you to cheat, or essentially pay him off and get those cheating tokens. It's really interesting. Plus, you're getting an additional cheating token, which can really sway the whatever the matchup is. You might get extra fans. You might get ejected. The cool thing is you have it face up, so you know exactly what's going to happen. But you don't want to be with the guy left without a cheating player with the face. It has to be a face-up cheating token, so he had to have been at that matchup before. It's a really interesting component. It really makes cheating cheating has a bit of randomness to it, but again, it's a face-up cheating token, so you can mitigate that a bit. You know exactly what's going on. So there's that, and that's a fun, I think a fun mechanic. Some people might find it a little too random. I personally really enjoy it. Now, my favorite addition though is stadiums. Stadiums, they feel like they're just natural fits for this. So, stadium cards are a bit longer, and they'll have different icons on them. Let's just get some examples here. There we go. So, stadiums are ways to modify matchups. As you can see, they've got this spot in the middle here that's almost the perfect size for a matchup. So let's show you what it looks like. Ta-da! So that's awesome. I really like the fact that they match up so perfectly, and they look great. And I know it's just aesthetic, but I really like that they look so good. Now, what we're looking at here is another way of getting penalties. Stay with me. So, for example, let's look at this one. You'll notice this icon here with an X through it. You'll also notice each of them has a different thing on it. So this one means that the fouling ability, the new fist ability, is banned at this stadium. However, in addition to that, you have bigger payouts on either side. So you have additional fans on either side. So there's a trade-off. You have banned skills, but you also have the ability to get more payout at these areas. The cool thing is that you can still play guys with the fouling icon there. But again, you have to take a penalty there. So these penalties are going to be the common thread between all of this. And there's different banned abilities or banned maybe not even abilities, but ban players there. So like here we have, you have to be, I believe that's 2 or less. No, this is the maximum star power. Yeah, exactly. Maximum star power is 2. So you're gonna have to play cheaper guys there, or you're gonna have to take penalties. Here tackling's banned, but again, you can take penalties for that. And over here, there's a 2-player limit. So essentially that means the stadium's player limit for each team. So each person can have 2 players there. But if you exceed it, again, you take a penalty. So I like that it does ban things, banning, but you can mitigate that. You can say, hey, I'm going to push my luck. I'm going to play more guys. I'm going to try to win that matchup, and I'm going to take a penalty to do it. So it's super thematic. Everything in this expansion just feels extremely thematic. I mean, you have cheating. You have additional ways to cheat. You have ways to take penalties for cheating. But it still encourages you to cheat. You still want to cheat. I mean, cheating obviously in game terms, taking cheating tokens. The disease tokens are a lot of fun. Just everything in this expansion. Honestly, I'm going to say that I think I like this a little bit more than Sudden Death. I think some of the additions in Sudden Death, if you saw my review on that, or if you go back and check that out, a couple of them I'm not super crazy about, like the contracts I think could be a little too swingy. But I think in this, everything feels so thematic, and so it's risk and reward, and that's what really Blood Bowl, the tabletop game and the computer game, are all about. It's risk versus reward, and they've translated that into this, which is essentially, are you going to risk playing banned abilities and getting fouls, or are you going to risk playing guys and getting face-up cheating tokens to get penalties? So, getting those penalties is essentially the new risk. So guys, that is really all there is to the new expansion. A lot of cool new components, awesome quality as always from Fantasy Flight. Let me take you to my opinion at the end.
So guys, that is Foul Play. Now, I was a big fan of the last expansion, although I did have a couple of minor gripes with some of the mechanics. Foul Play doesn't have any of those gripes for me. I think every change in this is positive. I really, really like it. Feels like it should have belonged to the base game, but obviously there's a lot of components and extra stuff that wouldn't have fit in that box. The 3 new teams are really cool. I like Nurgle. I like the idea of spreading disease around. It's a unique concept of lowering star value with disease tokens. I like the Night Goblins. They're really reckless. They're really, really scary, but they can also hurt themselves, which is pretty cool. And I love Chaos Dwarfs because I really like the Chaos Dwarf race. It's not enough Warhammer stuff as it is. And these guys are just brutal. They can just tackle so much. They can injure so many guys. The new star players are all super creative, but the biggest things for me are the new mechanics, which is awesome. The stadiums are awesome. I love the stadiums. I think that they're mandatory. If you get this expansion for just the stadiums, I wouldn't put it past you, honestly. It's worth getting the expansion just for those stadiums. They change so many of the matchups in a cool way. They make you think a little bit more about where you're playing your guys and what your hand looks like. I also like the new fouling mechanic where you're making your opponent discard. It's a really simple mechanic. It's just the reverse of the sprinting mechanic where you're drawing and discarding yourself. So it's cool that they've added that. I like the penalties. The penalties are awesome because it's the first thing that's really hitting you hard. You've been able to pump up your team and upgrade them and make them amazing this whole time, and now you have an actual punishment for cheating, and because you're really getting the punishment for cheating even though the ref is the one making you cheat. But it's a really cool mechanic. The ref stand-up is really interesting, but those stadiums I think are the reason to get it. The teams are awesome. It's always good to have more variety, and the other stuff is really just icing on the cake. The penalties are good. Everything in it's good. There's not really anything in here I can complain about. So guys, if there's a must-buy expansion, I think it's Foul Play, although Sudden Death is still really good. I like them both, but definitely take a look at this. If you're a fan of Blood Bowl Team Manager, it should be an auto-buy on your list. If you haven't checked out Blood Bowl Team Manager, definitely take a look at it, and this will probably be the first one I buy, honestly, although, like I said, all the expansions are pretty solid. I like them all. So guys, I hope you enjoyed that review. As always, you can hit the subscribe button. I'll have it up here above me and in the description below. And you can check out our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and our Patreon. It's all in the description below as well. I appreciate you guys checking us out. If you like it, like the video. If so, subscribe and all that good stuff. I'll see you next time in the game room.